Hello, CSP Hot Hands fans. Brett here. My book, How to Lead What You Should Have Learned in Business School, is officially available for purchase. Those of you who act quickly can get access to the launch price of under $10. If you wait too long, though, and it goes up, I would hate that. Just like you hate it when your customers wait until after the yearly price increase in February to pull the trigger. You can buy it right now at brettleads.com. All I ask is that if you love it, give it a 5-star review after you read it. I've taken my 17 years in the business and broken them into bite-sized snippets. Almost every story and lesson that I share is from my time at Cutco. Whether you're a Hall of Fame CSP, new events team member, or you're a manager, I think you're going to love it. To grab your copy, just go to brettleads.com. That's BRETTLEADS.com. Either way, thanks for being here. Let's start the show. Thanks for joining us on the CSP Hot Hands 15 Minutes of Flames edition of the podcast. My name is Brett Wiggins, and I get to serve as your host. We know sometimes you don't have a full hour to soak in every moment from our 60 minutes of fire. So we've created a condensed version of highlights for each episode for you to be able to enjoy. Your 15 minutes of flames begin now. Let's do it. Solo retreat you take every year. And you already answered some of my 4 or 5 days, and it creates your North Star for the year. For the person sitting there going, I don't have time, or my business couldn't survive it, or I don't have the money, or the person that's making that excuse and they're constantly in rat race mode. I like to say they're jumping over dollar bills to pick up quarters. It's like, hey, just stop, pause, just take a second. What value do you bring back from it? And why do you prioritize that time with yourself annually, speaking to the person who might be afraid to make that commitment or doesn't see the value in it?
Totally. And I will say it doesn't have to be 4 or 5 days. I'm very blessed that I have the opportunity
Yeah.
to do that. It might change going forward. The reason I started doing this was I wanted to do something to challenge myself, but I also realized we spent so much time in our daily lives getting to know the people around us, and we didn't spend enough time getting to know ourselves.
Mm.
And for me, I was like, man, like how powerful would it be to just disconnect from everything for a little bit, get to know myself on a deeper level, and just really get some clarity on what the next 6 to 12 months looks like, sometimes what the next 3 years looks like, the next 5 years looks like. But just really taking just time to sit and just be present, learn, grow. I'll typically bring personal growth books. I'll bring my Bible. I'll bring my journals. And I just spend some time reflecting. I've noticed that a lot of like high level people, CEOs, very successful people, they spend a lot of time in reflection.
Mhm.
And I have to schedule that and I have to do that because that's not my natural thing. I'm a doer. I'm an action taker. I'm always kind of moving.
So
So
you don't
schedule.
wake up and go, let me reflect
Let
on.
me sit back and relax. This morning. I'm like, all right, what are we doing today? Let's rock and roll, baby, you know? So, but it's if you have that tendency, I think it is really important to schedule that time.
Where's that sweet spot of desiring more for yourself, which we all want, but also to your point, your coach told you got to celebrate what already happened too. What's that sweet spot? Is it constantly changing? Is it just a daily check-in to see what you actually need? How do you find yourself navigating that tension?
I think the sweet spot is just gratitude for what's happened in the past, right? You don't, there's no lifetime achievement awards, right? We don't rest on our loyal laurels and be like, oh man, I did so awesome last year. Like, I'm so great. Like, let's just coast, right?
Yeah.
You don't do that, but you can look back at it with gratitude, reflection, learn from it, and just be appreciative of it while knowing there's still more out there for you. I think one of the keys to life is being content with what you have while continuing to strive for more.
I've been told that you sell big to other people's customers at the booth, and it's celebrated. What's your secret to selling, $1,000 plus somebody else's customer? Why do some people struggle maintaining their average order when it's not their own client? That the answer could be obvious. Is there more internal there? Is there something you feel like you consciously make a decision to do to not have that drop off?
Hmm. So your question is really around my average order to past customers of other people at the booth.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
ROR. That makes sense. And last year I was number one on my team for Rising Sun. I sold 30 grand in ROR. And in
Wow.
Rising Sun last year, I probably sold, 20, 30 grand in ROR for Texas last year. I pride myself on being somebody that just is able to give back. And I feel like that's a really cool channel and avenue to do that. Now, I think the reason why my average order is so high, I think that if someone has a low average order on ROR orders, it's because they're typically trying to get people in and get them out, right? I treat every customer like they're my customer. If somebody's customer walks up to the booth that day, I'm going to treat them the exact same way I would treat my customer and show them every package every time and just do my absolute best with them. I think the thing that people overlook is it's very easy to sell packages to CSP's customers. And the reason why most past customers that come up to the booth, you'll notice they're very piece focused, right? We have to work very hard as CSPs to reframe people's mindset and their focus on packages rather than just individual pieces, right? We have to break down that barrier and that wall in their mind. Hey, most people, got tired of paying individual pricing, or, hey, you can get it individually. It's just going to be the most expensive way to do it. Like we have to do all those things. You got to understand when, Calvin Lopez or Brian Carter or anybody's customer walks up to the booth, they've been primed over years and years and years a lot of the time
Mhm.
to look at flatware, cookware, upgrade, family
It's
program,
almost
business.
like I'm thinking about it as a manager. As a manager, it's like me trying to recruit my top 5-star student whose best friend already sold Cutco, told him everything about it. That's way different than my mailer that went out to some kid who's never heard of Cutco. So your expectation with somebody that walks up and goes, "Yeah, Brian's my," you're like, "Oh, dude, this is this is gonna be a great sale." That's it's
Mhm.
got it. What goes into your decision to determine whether it's best? You're at the booth of the customer, they're looking at a package, and they say no. When when do you decide to discount that package versus dropping down to something different? Like what? And it's going to be different every time, I'm sure. But what do you look for to be able to tell you this is the best move for this person in this conversation?
That's a great question. So I think when it comes to, I think there's two very different routes to take when you're discounting versus when you're dropping down.
Mhm.
I'll tell you when I discount something for somebody, it's more of the emotional hump that you have to get them over, where it's like they could probably swing it if they wanted to. They are comfortable with the package. They just need an extra little incentive to help them justify just knocking it out while they're here right now, right? If somebody is like, whoa, that's way more than we would want to spend, like that's way out of the budget, you're typically not going to be able to you're not going to be able to drop a price enough in order to get somebody that. I would rather help serve that customer at a higher level by getting them something smaller that they're comfortable with. And also, I can get them a deal that doesn't destroy my CPO so I can run a profitable business. So it's a win-win. And then, I can have the conversation about what it looks like to upgrade later. So that's typically how I know how to navigate it is just how the customer's feeling in that point and whether it's an emotional hurdle we have to get over or it's a very legitimate price objection.
Do you feel yourself like consciously being like, all right, I'm in Arizona. I need to remember their thing. Not that you change who you are, but you realize your clientele are gonna feel and look different.
Yes. Look, I'm going to rattle some cages here because I know there's a lot of conflicting viewpoints on people like, well, you treat every show the same, every customer the
Mm.
same. It's like the same thing every single time. And I do believe there's a lot of value in that, by the way. A lot of value in that. Having the same script, having the same approach, doing things the same way. I think when it comes to how you connect with customers and what types of tools that you use in your toolkit and in your arsenal, I think you need to be prepared to work with different types of people. We joke about the Wisconsin nice people, right? They're too nice to tell or
Yeah.
just like be upfront, right? Whereas Texas people are very straight shooters, right?
Yep.
You need to adapt to your event and to the people that are in front of you. I wholeheartedly believe that. So I think that one of the things that also something I learned from Curtis as well is the first day of your event. What are you doing to really get a feel for the event, for the customers, what type of interactions you're going to be have, what type of sets you're going to be pitching, like what is the feel for the event, right? Because I do truly believe that events are different, people are different. Yes, you can do a lot of the same things every time, but I think the best reps can adapt to their environment.
Let's talk about upsells. Okay, so upselling.
Sure.
Is there a certain point in your pitch that you're like, all right, we're about ready to upsell? Are there any transitional phrases that you use moving from card info to the bigger package? What is it? Is it systematized at all? Or are you like, dude, it's different every time? What's it look like?
There's a system to it for sure. And it's funny you ask that question because yeah, I do kind of free flow a little bit sometimes. By the way, I'll just give you a quick little blurb. Like
Please.
I talked to so Steven Decker really had a conversation with me like 4 or 5 years ago that changed my Cutco career. And it was a really interesting one because he's like, you are so dialed in. He's like, Matt Foss, you are dialed in with your scripts. Like you work hard on your scripts, you've got it locked down, like you do the same thing every time, like you're so good. He's like, I think you're also very naturally gifted at what you do. You should allow yourself to kind of free flow a little bit. And I gave myself permission to be a little less scripted and a little bit more me and just kind of use whatever tool I felt in my arsenal I needed to use at that moment. And that's when my sales really started to explode. But anyways, to go back to upselling. So yes, I think it's a crucial part of every sales process. I really love what Brian Carter talks about. By the way, there's a video floating around there somewhere that's
Uh-huh.
Brian Carter put out on like his like psychology of upselling. It is one of the most underrated talks in all of Cutco. And he one of the things that I learned from that, and again, the whole reason I'm here is I just learned from the best, honestly. You want to take a step back. You want to give some breathing room before you go into upselling is huge. Once you get the card, once you finalize the transaction, build some rapport, reconnect, get people comfortable. Realize people already just spent so much mental energy to make that first decision and make that first purchase. Or if you're jumping right into, oh, what else are we looking at? Like it gets a little overwhelming for a customer and you can get a very quick no and a wall up, right? So make sure you're planning. I think it's important to plant seeds throughout your approach because closing, upselling, all of this stuff is not just a thing you do as soon as you start doing it. It's a process throughout the whole interaction with the customer. So I think planting seeds can be great, but give it a little bit of space. And it's just really just asking the question again, like Josh talks about, hey, just so you know, since you're already doing this, if you do this, I can do this, right? It's that process. It's very simple. One thing I like to do is I like to be very subtle with my upselling. I also like to give people the opportunity to engage with the booth. I usually like just putting the pamphlet in front of them, like, oh, by the way, this is all the other fun stuff that Cutco makes. Right? Sometimes that's it, and I watch them like a hawk. I see where their eyes go. I see what they flip open to, what they stare at a little bit longer. I see what they engage with at the booth. People will tell you a lot non-verbally if you're just conscious and aware of where they're going and what they're doing.
Managing your energy at a show. I know this is something that you noted was one of your strengths. It actually came across from Chelsea McDougall. She talked about doing some training with you and Josh Mueller at one point. How do you manage your energy at a show that specifically, I think this one actually came from Benji, you've got the potential to close some big packages, but maybe there isn't the traffic that keeps you kind of on your toes and locked in. When there are lulls between interactions and when you're waiting on your turn, what do you do to maintain your enthusiasm so that way when that customer walks up, you're ready?
I think for me, it's really engaging people. There's a difference between like hawking at people and trying to pull them in and just being friendly and saying hello to people, right? I like in those lulls, I like to try to pull somebody over the booth and just talk with them, and wait for the actual qualified customer to come up. The flock effect is real at the booth. Like human beings are human
So
beings.
so just to clarify too, like this is you're interacting, but it's not a turn. You're you're
Oh,
you're yeah, yeah, you're just
how's the
hey,
show going, man? Where'd you
a,
get that
a, a
drink at?
crowd creates a crowd. A crowd creates a
Bingo.
crowd. And I think there's a lot of, and I'll let you finish here, just because I know our team's had this discussion. It's being on the same page with your booth mate of what's a turn, what's not a turn. So that way you guys know that because it's
Very
healthy
important.
for everybody when people are at the booth, right?
Very important.
Yep.
Yep, got to be on the same page. So I think just engaging people is helpful. And I just don't think you should be on your phone, on your laptop, like engaged, like fully engaged in something different because you look somewhat unapproachable. And there's a balance of like being like sitting at the booth, like who's kind of tongue talk to me versus just like this,
And if you
right?
don't know how to
Like,
do this, just watch someone that does and it'll make sense. It really, really will. Because for me, it's at career fairs where like our goal is like, hey, we say hi to everybody that walks by and we ask, hey, what are you looking for today? And whatever they're cool, that's not my turn necessarily, but I'm engaging, I'm getting people. And there is an art in appearing uninterested while being inviting. Like it's hard to say it, but you can see it.
perfect.
Sure. Yeah.
What did you say? Uninterested yet
Uninterested,
inviting.
but
That's a
but
great way to put it.
inviting. Yeah. You it's hey, I'm not a big scary monster. You can
Yeah, right. I joke. I every time people walk by my booth and I see them like staring at us for seconds but won't come and engage, I'm like, guys, we don't bite. You can come. You can come check the knives out. It's okay. I'm not gonna hurt you. You know,
uh
and people need to hear that because sometimes certain events, especially, people are used to getting hawked at by salespeople all day. So what can you do to be the difference? The person who's inviting, who wants to just have a conversation, be a human being first, and break that wall down.
you're a Christian and you don't make that a secret by any means. Yeah, I don't think you wear it on your t-shirt all the time anyway, but you don't make it a secret. How do you integrate that into your business? Because you lead people who aren't, who are seeking, who have no interest. How do you find yourself integrating it into your business?
One of my favorite terms I've heard over the last 4 years has been kingdom business, right? I run a kingdom business. I think that we're all given God-given gifts. We are. We all have natural abilities that don't come from us. And when we can utilize those to serve the people around us, serve, people in the marketplace, especially and add value in the marketplace, I just wholeheartedly believe on giving that up to God and giving him all the glory. And especially in the sales business, like Tony Robbins always said, business is a spiritual game. And I never quite understood that until more recently. You don't know where your next sale is going to come from. You don't know where your next business deal is going to come from. You don't know who's going to refer you to who. There's so much that is left to chance and so much that is left to the Lord's discretion at the
Yep.
end of the day. And so much grace. There's so much grace that happens in business and in sales, where if you can really start to tap into that and understand that that you need that grace, and that's ultimately what's going to continue to help your business stay afloat. You can't be anything but thankful and grateful for, the Lord and what he's
If
given
you're
you.
still tracking and categorizing all your own expenses, I have a message from your CPA. Stop. If you're listening to this podcast, chances are your goals include growing your sales. And one way to do that is delegating admin responsibilities by trading time for money. Rising Stock and MyBooks.pro is exactly what you need. Rising Stock is an all-encompassing financial tracking and coaching program where MyBooks.pro is exactly what it sounds like. They just do your books. You can choose to just have them track your expenses or take advantage of everything they have to offer. Do your business and your CPA a favor by scheduling a free intro call today at linktree/CSP60. That's linktr.ee/CSP60. That's linktree/CSP60 with a dot before the two E's. Thanks for listening, and for some of you watching, I want to remind you that all resources from today can be found at linktree/CSP60. That's linktr.ee/CSP60. That's linktree/CSP60 with a dot before the EE. If you want to be a member of our live Zoom audience for one of our upcoming shows, email bwiggins@vectormarketing.com. That's BWIGGINS@vectormarketing.com. If you loved what you heard today, I'd be honored if you followed, subscribed, or even rated us on whatever platform you use to find your 60 minutes of fire. We'll see you next time. Working with Trent Booth and the Veritas Leadership Group over the last decade has unlocked things within me that I never knew existed until they were coached out of me. If you're listening and you feel stuck or like you have another gear that you're having a hard time getting to, Trent's offering a free intro call to any of our listeners. I love Veritas because it's an amazing combo of mentoring and coaching. I get what I need when I need it most. It's also a flat monthly rate, which is awesome for anyone looking to give it a shot with no contract and no long-term commitment. Schedule a call with Trent today by going to linktree/CSP60. That's linktr.ee/CSP60. That's linktree/CSP60 with a dot before the two